see the eyeball, and then I know. There we go. Good morning. I am higher vibrations, and so are you. Being in the position that I'm in, I have the honor to get to meet a lot of different amazing individuals on this journey. And in the course of this, one of the individuals that I've been honored to be in a contact and conversation with is Preeti here, and I'm so excited when you said yes to be on this show. So welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, Pamela, thank you. And thank you for having me. Yeah, when you asked me, I thought, all right, and I'm sure everybody feels that nervousness initially, like, oh, really? We got to put our face on screen. But I quickly said yes before I could say no. So thank you for having me on. And I'm excited. We always have so much to talk about, you and I. We end up going off into tangents all the time. So it's great. I'm looking forward to it.
Right. Yeah, it's fun when you get to a lot of us are meeting each other, and finding that we're like it's not if so much meeting, it's like a reunion and you get to have easy conversation. Really
Right.
awesome. Before I forget, I just wanted to remind everybody that we're just before we get started here, that we're having a party here on the mountain, this foresty mountain that I'm on for the solar eclipse on April 8th. The party's from the 4th to the 8th and kind of over through the 8th, and the next little bit. And the ticket sales for this are available in the link of the description of this video. It's just going to be a lot of fun. A bunch of us are going to be here having a party, a lot of group meditation stuff, bonfires. We're in a forest, so all the wood's free. So we have nonstop bonfires. You can bring your car, van, RV. There aren't any RV hookups, but it is a camping situation. We're in favorable weather this year, even more so than normal. So we're looking at like being in the 70s or even 80-degree weather for
Mhm.
this window of time, Fahrenheit. Um, so anyway, those of you who are interested, those tickets, they're on sale until March 17th. There's a cutoff, and that way I know the money that you put forward goes to feeding you. So that's why I know how much to buy. So anyway, just getting that out of the way. Um, Welcome everybody. It's important that Carmen knows that he's first. Welcome. Thank you all for coming. Happy Valentine's Day to those who celebrate. Um, and I think that it's very fitting that we're in this time because, it's fascinating. I don't know if you know this, Prithi, but they've added a new holiday to this date last year, and now it's an annual thing.
Oh,
It's not just Valentine's Day, but it's also ET Awareness Day.
oh, is
Isn't
that
that?
it? That's interesting? ET Awareness Day on this day.
Mhm. It's the
Huh.
day of love.
Wonder what that means. They're always doing these funny things, and it's funny because I look at my calendar, and if you check off the show me the holidays, you get all the holidays that populate in your country. So there's tons, and now because of our awareness and what we know now, I always look at these holidays and I'm thinking, why do they put this holiday there, and
Yeah.
what's the meaning behind that? And it just makes you start thinking about everything a little bit differently. So it's interesting that they're doing that. Are you finding? I got a question for you. Are you finding that you're getting these shifts happening now locally? And again, maybe your crew, your family as well. Hello, everyone. By the way, maybe they could pipe in as well because I'm finding that things are slowly changing in our outside world, in the 3D world. And I know a lot of us are detached and we're not there. But when we do go to the grocery store, let's say, or we have to make that quick run into the mall before the energies strike us down, and get out. But I'm finding that stores are changing. Things that were once on the shelf are not on the shelf anymore, and they've been replaced with something a little bit better. Like I saw also the other day that they've got these prepared foods, but they've packaged it on there that there's no not parasites. I don't want to say that. I want to say that there's no, not GMOs, but there's an ingredient in there that everyone's and they're labeling it. It's free of that. So it's just odd that these things are starting to appear and pop up. I know we're on the new earth,
Yeah.
and it's just a matter of that blink of an eye that we're all anxiously awaiting.
Yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about. And I was having a conversation with Elsa Dillon about this, I think 6 months ago. Um, and we've found that it, just like you said, we're manifesting. It's an inside job. Manifest means that we're letting ourselves see how much of this reality, right? um, and the channeled message I've gotten recently, that a lot of individuals, a lot of us, they didn't say others, it was me and others, um, had been dug in like a tick. And I found that very fascinating. The word tick, I've never used this phrase before. Um, and the visual of it is all of the body is outside, but the head is deep within the depths of this other reality, this place that's maybe not where they actually are, not seeing where their feet are planted on the ground. And so as we start to do this inner work and this stuff within, then as within, so
Right.
without, we start to get to see, and I find it fascinating because once you share a photograph, so if you take a picture of this thing you're talking about, or you tell somebody about it, then all of a sudden other people start seeing it as if it wasn't there for them before, until someone else showed them, unless they've already done all of the inner work. So we're sharing our inner work by showing people what the outside can look like, simply by being in the experience of this shifting, returning to its more natural state reality that we're existing in.
And
It's
it's
really
like
cool.
magic, you know. and,
Yeah.
and the more I'm staying centered, and of course we're, the energies are helping us all along. So I find like every, couple of weeks there's a new, barrage of energies that are helping clear, let's say, our deep emotions. And I think now what's happening is, everyone's being called to detach, really surrender,
Mhm.
and let go, because we are at the end of this magnificent story. And I think this is, I'm seeing a lot of this happening. And again, it's reflecting on the outside world. Very difficult for people to detach. And so I find that,
Mm.
we're being pushed along, and it's quite a nice journey. And the more that I'm detaching, which that, sounds easy until you have to do it, and you realize, oh, I wasn't as detached as I thought I was. Or that, yeah, everything's shifting. The people in your world, your outside reality, and it's very pleasant when you get into that space.
Yeah, it is. It's very, it's that part where all of a sudden you realize there isn't any work. All the work that you were doing, was the reason it was so full of effort, was due to the fact you were going the opposite way of the current. And the current being, I used to call it God's will. I don't know what to call that force any longer, but there's an energy of effortlessness that is where the bulk of the energies are moving to. And so it tends to be like a river, this shift in this place. And I, before we get too deep into this, I love this topic, but forgot to ask you, when was your awakening and what was that like? I forgot to ask this question. I
My awakening. I think I had kind of a series of different ones. My big one was just 2019 at the tail end, where most people had their big shift. But my father passed away in 2012 in September. So that was kind of a big, and I think we'd spoken about these checkpoints that have happened, and
Yeah.
concurrently I've been kind of along that route. But that was one big point for me, because I think at that point everything kind of, didn't make sense, and I didn't know what was going on, and so I was running. And I found I was running from my jobs. I didn't want to be there. And I thought it was my job, but I didn't know what I was running from. And I think I did that up until, up until 2019, when I figured out, okay, that's a long time to run away from stuff. And then I finally figured out that, yeah, this is what's going on. So it was shocking. And of course, like everyone else, you want to tell everyone, and you like, no, don't do the jabby jab. And I'm not sure, something's not right. I don't know what yet, but I know something's not right. And so just hold on. Let me do some more research. I'll get back to you. But, and then, you're outcasted, and so on and so forth. So, my relationship also broke up because it couldn't take the stress of me changing. And I, again, I don't blame it. It is what it is. but there was so much change happening within me. Of course, my whole reality started changing. So um, yeah, so that separated about a year into COVID, year and a half. And yeah, and then I've just been on my own, and I met you. And so there was pivotal point people that I met along my journey that really propelled me forward. And you were one of the first ones. So I'm so
Awesome.
grateful, and just a blessing. And I know we planned all of this, but you always have that first, right? It's that near and dear. So, and then you got me to see a little bit of a different light. So I think I was more caught up in the all of the 3D stuff. And I think looking back at my journey, I had to, I was, some people are fast tracked. I was one that was fast tracked. So much happened in 4 years, and so much information. Um, I went through so much information to get to this point. But it was, I think, when I met you that I kind of took a hard right, because I let the 3D road, go on. And then, you took me into more of the spiritual, which I think many of us were always spiritual. We just didn't know the level in which this, the level of spirituality. And so, yeah, you opened up a whole new world for me, and I just took off from there. And here I am
Yeah.
today with you.
Well, it's been an honor to watch you evolve and flourish, and I take no credit.
Oh,
It's been beautiful, and I've been honored to be able to be on this journey with you and to share this. It's I would say that's like the most amazing thing about what I do is because most people when I first meet them, there's this almost hopelessness kind of feeling about the energy um and I don't do anything but I simply open myself and let your own guides and your own and mine as well, spirit team come and talk to you through me and so I'm in the back row is how I kind of feel like, at the theater and eating popcorn and watching hope for the first time in however long fill this person's energetic space and man, what a beautiful honor and privilege it is to get to be in this chair. So
oh,
thank
God
you.
bless you for doing all the work that you do, and I'm sure you've helped many of us, just kind of get over that hump. And now I think it's nice because you get to see other people's gifts start to come online now. And so you've almost taken us full circle, right? So that's it's just, thank you. It must be beautiful from your end to watch us all mature and grow.
Yeah, it's glorious. And the whole world is doing this. The whole world is doing this, and we're connecting to each other. You had mentioned this a minute ago about how we're going within and we're spending more time within right now. And I had just gotten prompted to talk. I put it on our Telegram and the Facebook of this the way that this is being asked of us now where before we used to fill ourselves up with the light of God and Gaia, how we pull the light in, and then we'd like say, "You need some. Here's a love ball. You need some," and it would like it would separate the energy from us. And so instead, to keep filling self up, and you're watching yourself blow up like a balloon in a way, bigger and bigger and bigger, and eventually these orbs, these spheres, do go bloop, and like they connect. I have a lag, I think. My internet seems to be acting really strange. So anyway, it's mine. Anyway, so, and doing this reaches through the cosmos. Um, so in the visual way, you just brought up what I had just gotten channeled, so I found that really fascinating. Do you want to pick back up on this topic a little bit? How do you do this? Go within and take care of self without having to get hung up on guilt or
Um, so basically, like I've also, we've all got our teachers, and not teachers, but people that are helping us along. And so, big thing for me was just sitting in. What I'm learning is to sit in the feeling of what you're feeling. Don't run from it. And I think that's where everyone's getting a little bit scared. So if it's fear, for me, for example, I raised my kids alone. There was always that. And I grew up with a lot of fear. So I was raised with a lot of fear. And again, it's a generational thing, right? And that was the programming for, the generation born in 1940, 1945, the 50s. It was all that. And that's when I think all of this really started picking up the programming and all the infiltration. So I had a lot of that. So that's always been with me, learning that, none of this is real. This is a matrix, and this reality is what we're creating. Um, in order, there was a big fear leaving the security of a job. What am I going to do?
Yeah.
How am I going to provide? How am I going to bring, even if I was to do, and I've done life coaching, I've done angelic Reiki and, all of that. But the thing is, it takes time to build these careers, and when you have bills coming in. So that was a big fear. So I sat with it and I just thought, okay, let's go to worst case scenario. What's the worst thing that can happen? Okay,
Mm.
I don't pay my bills. I probably have to sell the house, move into something smaller, let's say, or even rent. And once I went through, and you go through all of these worst case scenarios, it's not so bad anymore. You're like, okay, is that it? So, and then you get over it. Now, it's not saying that it's done and it's never going to come back, but as it comes back, again, you sit with it and you just, where am I feeling it? Why am I afraid? And I start asking, where is this coming from? Is this truly yours, Pretty? Is this truly, truly yours? And then the biggest thing for me, and I'll tell you a story after, is, I asked myself, what's your biggest fear out of all the fears? What's your biggest fear? And like many parents, the biggest fear is something happening to our children. And once I asked myself that, and I realized, come on, biggest fear would be something catastrophic. And let's say, something happens to the kids, God forbid. Everything disappeared. And I thought, geez, the fear that I had didn't even hit my biggest fear list. It wasn't even
Yeah.
on the list. So this is what I do. I just kind of sit with it. If somebody triggers me, I try to catch the trigger and say, okay, where is that in me? Why did I get triggered? Because we live in a house of mirrors, is what I'm learning. That's all it is. It's just a house of mirrors. So you're talking to yourself, you arguing with yourself, you're only getting triggered by yourself, and so once I got it, my teacher, you're the only one here. You're only talking to yourself. And once that sunk in like really deep, everything kind of vanished because I thought, why do I want to fight with me? And I should be nicer to me. I should come with more love towards me because everyone outside is representing an aspect of ourselves that we need to look at, essentially, right?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And the triggers are designed as
Right.
activations of to assist us. And man, I mean, it doesn't feel that great when we get into a triggered place. That's why they call it what it call it. I remember in the earlier days when we first started to use this word, it would be used as a way of showing you to stop something. Trigger, trigger.
Yeah.
And I remember even then being guided, like hearing, spirit telling me, well, no, this is good. And yes, I don't go and say, oh, there's a trigger, but I'm gonna push that button. I'm not that person. Um, However, if it comes through naturally, that's designed as a gift
Yeah.
to you. And um, I've been finding that the need to fully experience the emotions that are moving through us has been amped up, like the encouragement of please do this. And so I find more and more people are being put into positions that
Yeah.
do, in fact, bring these emotions forward as partners on this journey with you.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it's not that they have to, I don't think they have a choice. I don't think we got a
Yeah.
choice. It's not a, I mean, we always have a choice. I shouldn't say that. There's always a choice. But, if we want to get to where we want to get to, it's all coming up because it has to. It just can't go where we're going. So either we look at
Yeah.
it and move, past it. And the only way to do it, sadly, because I tried to go over, around, under. You can't. You got to go through it. It's the only way. So once I kind of you just it's changing your mindset, right? Like, okay, I got to do this. Let me feel it. And when I did, you know what I realized, Mila, is that it's not so bad. We make it out like it's
Yeah.
this big scary thing, and oh, and we don't want to feel the pain. Yeah, initially, but once you actually sit and start to break it down, like, where am I feeling it? Why am I feeling it? It almost starts to dissipate because it wants to be seen. Like, and it wants to
Yeah.
go, like you said it many times. It wants to go. It doesn't want to stay. It's been sitting there for so long. It wants to be free as well. So I don't know. Hopefully that offers some help to people, but I think the more we're in it, the faster it's going away. And I'm telling you, we're transmuting like this. It's not even days. I'm talking hours and minutes sometimes. So, for those of you who are going through stuff, don't look away. Just go right through it. And I think it's going to be easier than what we think.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely easing up every step. Hey, it's 222. Excuse me. And there's 44 people here. Um, there's it seems that every step is easier and more complex. It's simpler and more complex at the same time, I guess is the better way of saying it. Easier is a subjective term, so it's hard to find this. Um, though if you look back just a week ago of who you were, a month ago, a year ago, a whole different person, like I think I met you in 2021, is
Yeah,
that right?
right
Yeah.
after. Yeah,
Um,
I had a whole year of what's going on. And then I kind of, had this break, saw some, you know, blue in the sky, and then you came in. And it's all divine because you had to come. Like, I just know it was, there's nothing coincidental here.
what was the break that happened, if you don't mind going into this?
The break in, like, just, I think, I realized there was no red pill and blue pill. There was no
Yeah.
sides to be chosen. And once I
Yes.
determined that it's the combination of the two, because what I was reading at that time was, the Democrats and the Republicans and this side and that side, and the
Cats,
yeah,
all that stuff.
yeah, and it does your head in after a while. There's only so much of that you can read, and I've always been more spiritual. So then with the, there was always blasts of like keep your spirits high, and we're ascending and all, and so that took kind of a hold because that was more that rang more true to my soul, I guess. And then I must have bumped into you. So for me, what happens is I don't get visions, and I just get downloads, and they're very smooth and sleek, and they just kind of come in. So I don't have a chance to interact with them. They're just there. So yeah, this is what happened. And I think in came you, and this is how I think it just intuitively landed me on your page. And so this is what happens to me is I'll go through, I can get a bunch of information. And so my gift is I can take that, and I'll point to something that is going to give me the information. And then I'll take maybe 3-4 minutes of that, only of an hour. And I know when I've had enough, and I'll scoot to the next. So I was able to fast track that way because I was able to do the whole, okay, nope, and I'm going to grab that. And I really quickly go through all that information.
Yeah.
And yeah, you came into my world and changed everything. I think it just, like I told you, I did a hard right as soon as you came because it opened up a whole new world. And I left that red pill, blue pill behind because I realized that it was only there to get me to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To get you to yourself.
Yes. Yes, there's only one of us here. That's right.
Yeah. I really love that because of the mere reality. I don't know how many of y'all have seen that Doctor Strange. I think it's Doctor Strange 2. I can't remember. Or maybe it was the first one where they create a mirror dimension. And like there's this, it's meant as like a practice place for spells and stuff, so you don't affect reality. Um, this same looking visual has been coming in for me in front of me, like it's folding back in, and it's as if there's like a whole bunch of plates of this mirror over and over, like this whole big dome, kind of like the background I have, sort of,
Yeah.
um, in a way. And it's like they're folding in and becoming one so they don't have to be. Like the messages about there aren't any mirrors, or there aren't any more mirrors, or we're leaving the place of mirrors has been really cool, because as we be, like you said, we become in the oneness, we don't even have to see that we're the reflection, and when you had the realization that you were having downloads, that was downloads, did that just come to you? Did you realize it after? How long has it been happening? And when did you find out that that was what was happening? This is a fun.
Um, Yeah, this is always fun. My whole life, and I just didn't know. And I've always been one of those, like, I've always been in the esoterics and anything spiritual and up in the sky. It's always been that way as a kid, and I would have loved to have ET experiences and all of that, but that wasn't just the way it was meant to be for me. It was, yeah, downloads. Just, I think when I really realized that I'm getting messages was when uh maybe 2009, 2010 is when I really started realizing that there's this voice, and if I don't listen to it, it just keeps going and going and going. And so I've learned to just listen to it, because it never steered me wrong. And so I always just knew that as intuition,
Yeah.
like that's my sixth sense. And I didn't know anything above that. Like, I knew there was different species and all, but I think what happened is many of us get so bogged down and, boots on the ground, just in survival mode, that you don't have time to kind of check anything out. You just go with, okay, this is what I think, and then life goes on, and you got, kids to feed, and before you know it, it's the next morning, and it's
Right.
a repeat. So yeah, the download started, and that's it. I'm just, now, like I was telling you earlier, I'm feeling, and a lot of people must relate to this, like there's new gifts you can feel are starting to open up. They're not quite there, but you're starting to tap in, like telepathy. Huge synchronicities are happening, worldwide, I think, with people. Um, so every night I just go to bed and, ask for, show me my soul's purpose, because I think that's the biggest thing now, I think, is, where do we go from here? What's next? What's the new roles? Because I find our roles are all coming to an end.
Yeah. Yeah. Realizing perhaps that we didn't have roles at all, or maybe the roles were what was needed in order to exist in this previous paradigm that we were. And the word to exist in this paradigm isn't even correct. We weren't really existing there. We were just hallucinating it. It feels like it's a better word, but the uh, the energy shift that we're all getting right now is meant to assist us. So I'm fascinated to ask you, because you're in a very you're in a densely or a denser populated place.
Mhm.
What does it feel like? What's going out right now over there? Is it like, are the energies seeming to shift for?
Yeah, so I realized I'm a bridge. I'm going to work into like partly in 3D till this thing flips over. And what I'm finding is, there is some confusion. I think people are starting to wake up. And again, I'm in a very dense area, so there are some that is still not awake, which really surprises me. But the ones that are starting to come to are, they see it as a story still. Like, it's just like, oh, can you? It's like entertainment, because they're on TikTok, and that's where they're kind of sourcing this information from. There's others that are going through, like, a lot of women are going through a lot that I'm finding. I'm coaching them a lot, just kind of on the fly, one on one, when I see them, because they're opening up. My marriage is breaking down, and you know, um, there's a lot of anger, a lot of fighting. People don't want to let go of the victimhood, I'm finding. So this is what's happening around me, is there's still that finger pointing, she said, he said. But I find it's escalating. Like, it's getting more, those who are not willing to look at it, those who are not willing to own responsibility, it's getting worse for them.
Yeah.
So this is what I'm noticing here.
Um, I would say that's across the board.
Yeah.
Like, if you look at, and there's no above and below, everyone's an equal. we're doing this as like a train, I guess is a good way of saying it. The train can be really long, and there could be many cars to this train. Um, the Some of the individuals who are in the middle are still having this trauma come up in their own way. It's just how much healing have you intent as put in your intention into and your time into up to the time that this is coming through. And
Yeah.
this isn't meant to attack you. This isn't like, oh, you got all your bad stuff now. It's just that, this is the stuff that's ready to go, and
Yeah.
we have what we need in order to heal it now. And that's what you do as well, isn't it? That this in this professional setting.
Yeah. Yeah. With the dental hygiene you're saying and the work that
Yeah,
I'm
I
doing?
mean, you're basically a counselor.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much across the board. That's what's happening. I find when I'm treating the patients, they're opening up, and it's a lot of women that are taking care of sick men, working 2, 3 jobs, and just they just release in the chair. They just like they can't take it anymore. So yeah, I'm doing a lot, and then just keeping them, in the light. Stay close to God, and it's funny because they need to hear that, and I'm not doing much. I'm just saying, look, you know what? I think good times are ahead. You have to understand this, and you got to try to trust this and have faith in that. Good times are coming. It's always darkest, before the sun breaks out. We're in the end of the storm, so it's going to seem chaotic. So just that little bit, I find is propelling them, and it just gets them to remember God again. And hey, yeah, that's right. I have someone that I can go to all the time. It's our creator. And why haven't I used our creator,
Yeah.
for more support? So yeah, and I don't know where it's going to take me though, although I do feel, something's coming. And I
Mhm.
don't know if other people are feeling that, but it's like my role's not quite here, but I know it's here.
Yeah.
If that and it hasn't transpired yet.
Yeah.
So it's exciting. I'm just kind of one day at a time.
We're activators of all, each other.
Yeah.
All of us are activators of each other. And how that's done is simply seeing the other person, and sometimes words are needed to help that person know that they're seen. Um, I just realized I had some orange juice pulp on my lip this whole time. Anyway, yeah. And I don't, like that kind of stuff. It's so funny. Like that's not embarrassing. It's just
Yep.
weird. I just had orange juice pulp on my lip. Um, anyway, it's we don't have to put importance into things that don't really matter,
Yeah.
and what matters is this connection we're talking about. And when you see someone, when they know they're being seen, that so going back to the mirrors again, that enables that person to then see themselves,
Yeah.
because we've been conditioned in this reality that we're trying to be within somehow. And in order to do that, there was a lot of disempowerment. There was a lot of weak, fragile, helplessness kind of stuff, in order to maintain that slave-like mentality that was required. And now we're leaving that behind. You brought up 2009, and I'm just sorry I keep jumping back here. Just I love this story that you have. You have a really amazing story. Um, in 2009, you started to get downloads, and you didn't know that they were downloads, but you were, doing the work, and you're doing the mom thing and very busy, and then you find some a tragedy. When your father passes in 2012, and this was an activating time for you as well.
Yeah.
And then 2019 was another date that you had mentioned that was also hugely activating. And I'm just, those are the dates that a lot of people have. 2009, 2007 is another one. 2001/2000, and also 1999. 1997 is another one. 1986 was a big one. Like you can go through all the way down to at least my lifetime. Um, where the hijacking happened of the mother line was during or right before or during the Great Depression. Was the intention of this was to diminish hope and to take power away, or to assist with the power thing, right? It doesn't really matter. There's no bad guys or good guys. There's no red pill or blue pill. Everybody assists everybody to get to where we need to go. And
Right.
so I'm pointing this out though, so you can see that it wasn't very long ago that our entire reality and what we're existing within and how we are able and capable and all of these things was shifted. And so you talking about this mother wound stuff being so prevalent and um, I've been seeing this too and guided that this is why we're doing it. It's around the depression, the Great American Depression. I know there's been depressions other places. I don't mean to be an arrogant American, but um, so I found this really fascinating. And you brought this up. So you were in the same moments in those same places. If you were um, once a person's able to see something, you can see it because you're part of it, because you're part of the healing capacity of it. And I was just wondering if you wanted to, if this is something that you kind of relate to and would like to discuss a little further. Did that make any sense?
Rephrase that. You lost me a little bit. I don't mind speaking about it. Is it the mother wound you're talking about?
The mother wound and also the dates. I got the dates in my head. You don't have to talk about the dates though, but
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, for sure. So my separation happened in 2006. So that's funny. And then 2012, I know. So these it's amazing how the dates line up. The mother wound, I think, for me, my whole life I was raised they, we pick tumultuous families to come in so that we can grow and we can learn and we can transmute these ancestral lines. So um, my parents, both lovely people, but it was a tough marriage for the two of them. And For me, I grew up always, meaning there's always one kid that's taken into the marriage and kind of
Yes.
the codependency. So I was that for my mother. And so I had that growing up. What I realized though, and then again, everything was against the father and there's all these different addictions and so on and so forth. And that was their marriage. So I didn't really have much of a childhood because I was, brought into that at such an early age. Um, and then what I realized about 7 or 8 months ago, that the whole, the narcissistic, it was actually the mother wound. It was the mother.
Yeah.
So my whole world, I thought it was one way, and about 8 months ago, I realized, oh my God, that wasn't it at all. It was actually the mother.
Yeah.
So I had to redo all of that. I don't know if other people are going through but that hits you like a ton of bricks. That's not easy to deal with because you got to go back now and kind of look at everything again with new eyes and kind of reshift everything. So so I did that, and I'm glad I did because it gave me a deep level of understanding for my mother, right? Like these women are, it's an ancestral thing, and they've been so attacked. All the women,
Yeah.
all the women, and it breaks my heart. Like in that generation, the truth, Mila, it's hard for them to change.
Yeah.
Like I just accept it. I mean, what do you do? And this is where I think a lot of people get triggered. It's our families, right? Where we still got to show up. You can't just abandon them, but it's not getting triggered with the one-liners and the snarky remarks and still coming from a place of love. So it took me a while, but I finally got there. So yeah, that's what I dealt with was a whole, I had it all wrong.
Yeah. And this mother wound, thank you very much. You're talking about this. This mother wound is so deep. It affects everyone, men, women. This is something that the energy of frequency and while you were in the womb, and this whole generational thing too that you were fully formed, ready to go egg in your mom's womb when she was in her mother's womb, and so did you know that? Yeah, it's true. And so all the frequency of your
All
grandmother.
makes sense. Like when you said that, all this info came right. That of course, that's okay. Sorry,
Please go ahead.
I just like, of course, that makes sense because it's the trauma that's being carried over, and then we do that with our kids. Like, Because sometimes I sit and I wonder, like, as I learn, I explain it to my kids, my boys, my children, and I'll tell them, listen, I'm sorry. You came when I was really like damaged and broken. And that's when we decide to have children, right? When we don't know anything about ourselves and we're trying to raise these kids, and they become broken too with us. So as I'm learning, thank you for letting me know. Like, thank you for saying that.
Yeah, of course.
Back to you
And
on that. More comes in.
the healing that I've been guided to guide people on is this. It visually would look like you and your mother, and in male or female, which are, that there's not, any gender specific here. This womb is your womb, whether or not you're a woman or a man. This is where you started. And so you would kind of like you're spooning your mom, and then your mom spooning her mom, your grandma, and on and on and on. Is kind of what it would look like if you were trying to make this what is an energy space. Is it in a meditative place, going in a visual sense way down, and you realize that your belly button is actually a portal. It's a place to walk, like a corridor. And you walk on down there, you're like, hey, cool, and then the color and light, and there's always something that kind of changes. You can tell you're in a different womb. And so now you're in your mother's womb, and through this line, you're um, often guided by a variety of different things, whether it might be too dark in there and it needs some of the light. So with an intention, pulling the light from God and expanding that light that you're glowing off of you, right? Sometimes there's large crystals with, like, I call them memes or gifs, because they like have just like a 5-second animation of something that had happened all throughout. These are just things that need to be seen. They don't need to be experienced. Anyway, and you can keep going through womb to womb to womb until we've healed this place. Doing this kind of meditation is so healing, and so I've and lots of tears and awesome stuff, um, and taken at your own pace. And so this is the one I've been guided with, to do that. And when we've done it, each time I found that we didn't need to go any farther than pre-depression. It's amazing. You could see a very clear line. That's when this hijacking thing, or whatever you want to call it, had occurred.
Yeah, and that's about the time frame, right? That sounds about right. It's funny you mentioned womb. I was watching something, and this guy was talking about this, the history of us, and he was saying woman. So woman, womb man, and then masculine, masculine. Line is one, womb nine, woman, womb. So nine and one is 10, which makes the completion of the man and the woman. And the man is the one, the woman is the zero, which, you go back into Hindu, you got the lingam, which represented the, the penis, right, of the god, and then the zero is the womb of the woman. So it's amazing how all of this is, everything's so interconnected. Like, there really is nothing new under the sun. Literally.
Ones and zeros. It's all ones and zeros. It's all the matrix. Yeah. The ones and zeros is an ongoing conversation. Just, for a lot of people, specifically for Elsa and I right now in my life, every time we talk, and I didn't even realize I always do this LOL, like, but I do it a bunch of times because I'm laughing. And so I'm showing you I'm laughing, and like, and it comes out across for her because it's underscore L, lowercase L, that it looks like ones and zeros.
Yeah, I wonder if that's the code, the binary code for laughing is 101.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's fun. This is really fascinating. I didn't know this about the Hindu um, symbols, and so wow, that takes it so much deeper, and it brings this Odin. Oh, and Odin is the ones, and so this is
Yeah.
and
So
oh, and one is again.
oh, and the one, and so I just find it fascinating. You brought up the womb, and that took me to the womb man, and yeah, it's everything's linked. It's pretty incredible.
Yeah, the circles. Patrice is here. Yanni is zero, circular stone. I actually don't know what Yanni is, but this brought up the landscape of this place. There are all these ancient stones that are in circles all around here, everywhere. I just looked up and we'd been going for 44
Oh,
minutes, 44 seconds. And like, but they're large enough to like gather around. So like it would be a place that people could sit upon all these large stones. I mean, they're big. They're like boulders. They're chairs, basically. And they're in these big circles. And then you go down the path a little while, and then there's some more. And then you go back down some more, you know what? And they have like they have obviously been there for quite some time, and there is like these gathering stones, and they're everywhere around this landscape. It's so fascinating. I don't know why yet, but I just find that beautiful.
would you be able to use those stones for grounding? I did something recently, so I took your idea with the soil and I put it in I had this really nice shoebox, and I thought, let's just put some soil and we can close it up. And I got some big rock and I stuck them on. I put my feet on the rocks actually without getting the palms of my feet muddy in the house. And so I was wondering, that would work equally as well, would that not?
Oh yeah.
For people who can't do this, it's just to bring some nice rocks in and maybe just place the feet on that because with these energies, I find that's helping. Just to get even a little bit out is making a big difference in just keeping us stable.
Oh yeah. I mean, it definitely helps. The rock is what ends up being dirt, right?
Yeah, yeah,
You
that's
know,
right.
so it's the
Crush it.
same stuff. I think it's a little bit faster, more efficient. I don't know the right word. If it's broken down, the smaller it is. And so sand or dirt is soil tends to happen a little bit faster. Um,
Mm.
though when you do stones, especially if it's a larger stone, um, these stones once it's like a slow and gradual increase. That's awesome.
Oh,
You know, so if you do take at least, so I always tell people 5 minutes or so a day to ground in this way, bringing soil into the house when you can't go out into the cold. This way you can, and it's the ionization process too, is that our body collects all these positively charged ions. They're full, they're too full, so they sound like static. It's really
mm.
disruptive. Um, and so when we stand on the soil, it actually absorbs or takes all the positively charged ions and leaving us with the negatively charged ones. And that's when we start to feel more like, oh, and
Yeah.
it feels almost like someone finally turned off a really annoying sound in the back of the house that you just couldn't really put your finger on. And um, so this is can also be done in the house. Is the point is that sometimes it's too cold, the ground's too frozen. We don't want to stand out there barefoot on 5 feet of ice, you
Yeah.
know. So totally exaggeration, obviously. Um, so yeah, I'm gonna bring this one up really quick. I don't this also the sun is a grounding thing, and I'm not sure if this is what you meant, Amy, because I think you're commenting on something else. I'll catch up to, but um, the sun code, letting yourself be in the sun. It's hard this time of year because there isn't a lot of it usually, and we do find it difficult. So that's why people start to use those sun lamps, those sun lights for depression. The
Oh,
the thing about this grounding that we're talking about, this it's called earthing. If you go into the practice of psychology or psychiatry or counseling, which I think is fun because they're talking about how they just invented it, and I don't, at least personally, I've been doing it for a lot longer than they say, and it's been going on since we had feet. You know what I mean? The reason this works is the sole of your feet, both of them, have the biggest pores of all your body, and so it can absorb and send out a lot of stuff a lot more efficiently. Your hands are second, and then it moves up. And so if you would like to
oh,
what's that?
sorry. I was just reading the comment. Go ahead. I'm sorry I interrupted.
That's all good. It's all good. You didn't interrupt at all. And so that's just a method that you can do with this. The other part that we were talking about, having to do with grounding. What were we saying? Oh, sun, allowing the sun to come through, because in this oh yeah, okay, thank you, I've got back to my spot, is that I used to have what you would call seasonal depression really bad, really profoundly. And I didn't know what was going on or why. It just, I had it happen. And as soon as I started to get ready for gardening a little early, and I was playing with it with my hands, 10 minutes a day with your hands, 5 minutes a day with your feet, kind of an idea is how I figured this out. And I haven't had to have that in my life since. Um, Rocks are the same thing. So let's say 5 minutes with your foot would now be 10 minutes with your feet. You know, that's what I was trying to say. And so yeah, it's really useful. And these lamps are also for seasonal depression, usually when you buy them.
Interesting. I wanted to ask you, did you ever find out that White Rabbit Elvis
No.
situation? And I sent you something because I started searching and then I got to Orion, which I don't know. I've got a tie with Orion, and I always go to the belt. When I look at the sun, I always get a code, like I always get a shape that comes to me
Uh,
my in my third, like my mind's eye. So when you said that, I think I'd sent it in the Telegram chat group. Underneath Orion is a hair. You know that it's a white hair that he is under his foot, a rabbit. So
ah,
that was of interest to you or Elsa, but I felt that that's something significant for you guys. I'm not sure
yeah,
why
dude.
that means, but I sent it. I'll send it again to you. I'll email it to you. I took a picture on my
Please.
stellarium, and it's a hare that he's stepping on, and I think it's the hunt because he's a hunter, right?
Right.
He hunts the
Yeah.
rabbit, and that's where Easter came about, is through the
Right.
Orion, that hare. Yeah, so that's
Wow.
what ties
Thank
into
you.
that. So, anyways, I just wanted to mention that to you.
White rabbit's so big right
That's
now.
big for you and
Oh
us, I know.
gosh. And like we just left the year of the rabbit and moved into the year of the wooden dragon. I think it was the water rabbit. I can't. I feel like that's not
Might be
correct.
right. It might
Yeah.
have been water rabbit.
Yeah. Thank you. When this symbol started to come in, there was a lot of code about the Hopi too, and the Hopi. Though I find it really fascinating that for some reason we're supposed to understand Elvis and the White Rabbit, and I kind of just kind. It could be something as simple as fear has left the building, like
Hmm.
Elvis
Has left
leaves
the
the building.
building.
Elvis has left the building. Um, I know that many of us are leaving fear behind, learning to how to not have to be in this place of fear, and the overinvestment and trying to uh, uh, feel safe and secure. So
Yeah,
overinvesting in our root chakral space and stuff like that.
it's a big one for us. It's gripped many of us,
Yeah.
and yeah, I think that's the big. And then I think the other big one is going to be people to leave their material items, the ones that are attached. I think that's, and again, it's. I guess that would be fear too, right? That's all fear. It's all
Yeah.
encompassed in that. So yeah, we'll see. I think it's very exciting times though. The energies are ripe. The sun's blasting. We've got the central sun, on the action, as well as Sol. So, you know, um, I think it's just TikTok. That's where we're at.
Yeah.
We're just
Yeah. And they're going to keep coming. They're going to
Yeah.
keep coming. It's going to be awesome. And these aren't meant to be something scary and overwhelmingly big. This isn't something to be like, oh no, it's like, woohoo,
Yeah.
finally here. We're
One
finally
day
here.
closer. Every day we're a day closer to the blink of an eye. So
Yeah.
and I just stay there. I think the more of us that stay there, and envision that new earth, how do you want your world? Sit there all
Yeah.
day. I know it's hard. It's not easy. It's easier said than done. But I think the more of us that can do that, we're just going to usher it in because everything's always happening in the present.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, so I'm trying to just stay in the now. Everything's happened. It's already happened in the now, and hopefully that with that momentum, we can push this over and really
Yeah.
start living the way we're meant to live, with abundance and health and
Yeah.
love and joy and freedom and clean water and clean air and food for all and housing for all. I mean, why did we come here? And the children, of course, that was first and foremost, right? They're
Yes.
safe and they get to run around free and
Uncorrupted.
yeah.
Uncorrupted. There's, you've been to school, me too.
Yeah.
And I started school later than most. I didn't start till I was 14. So I, you know, saw it for what it was when we started.
Yeah.
But um, I would say that propagandized fear is really the bulk of what school is, and um, how did you learn? What kind of practices did you implement to allow yourself to pull far more into the love and away from the fear, would you say?
Um, I've always come from that place. I mean, I've not always been love and la la la. I mean, but like all of us, we want peace.
Yeah.
We're happy to endure a certain amount of discomfort because we can transmute that stuff so beautifully.
Yeah.
So we can take a little more than most, just to keep that peace. I can see that that's not always right. That was wrong for us to do that. Um, so how did I transmute it? It's just a level of understanding, Mila. I think the more we understand, the more, if you can understand why we're here, this matrix, what it's about. Um, what was their goal? Their goal is for food. We were food for them, energetic food, and so they had to use all of these infiltrations and poison our food and all the schooling, all of that. Um, if you can understand that, I think, to me, I always think, if you know something, then when someone who doesn't know comes in front of you, how is it that you can be so, like, there shouldn't be that level of a upset then, or anger or whatnot. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So that's how I always saw it. But if you know, then it's incumbent upon you to try and understand and not be triggered and not get mad and try to understand why this is happening. So I just kept at it, and then you get to a point where you just get it, and then it just, nothing triggers you anymore, and you're there. So
I love that. Fear, there are people who have tried to define fear in a lot of different ways. The one that I felt like I really resonated with was um, it's being concerned to lose something you have or not get something that you want, and um, assuming that that's correct, then we still have some inner work to do regarding how powerful you are, and that you are truly, truly creating the reality before you.
yeah.
What your experience is at this moment is creation of you, and like you said, the reflections that we are, and the example of leaving the fear of um, socioeconomic stability, and this kind of thing. um, I did an experiment, and
Mhm.
that I haven't talked about because it's a long time ago, but um, when I left work, um, I had kept up with how much I had been spending daily, and it took, um, and then I compared what my daily price for just having a good time and just, is that it was about 72 cents a day when I didn't work, when I to live, and how completely happily having everything that I needed. When I was working, it was around $60 a day. I didn't have a child. This wasn't including daycare. This wasn't including, wear and tear on a vehicle or any of those kind of things that we're talking about. You know, I needed, I needed, all of this other outside stuff.
Yeah.
And it was fear of losing those things because it felt like livelihood, that often we don't realize how much we are um, reinvesting in the enslavement system that we're engaged in, and so
Mhm.
it helps because we can leave the fear a little easier, knowing that um, we don't really end up needing. I didn't even notice. I didn't even miss anything. I didn't go, I'm not going to do that. It's just, that's just how much it costs to be happy. I mean,
Yeah.
and like fed and
Yeah,
so
it's incredible when you do break. And I felt the same. I had the same experience because once I had that realization, and I mean, even before that, in 2009, those downloads came, and I intuitively turned canceled cable. There were never newspapers in my house. I mean, I completely lived in a bubble for my kids when they were in there in the home, because I knew to a certain extent they're going to learn stuff when they go out to school with their friends, and I couldn't control that. But what I could control, I did. So yeah, I did a lot of that. Shut it all down and tried to control whatever we could control. Just so that they would have that opportunity to not get caught up in the whole, I guess. And I've got off track. Where were we? Is this happening to you where you're just
all the
completely,
time, all the time.
I'm like, okay, what was I even talking about?
Yeah. I do it I do it live most of the time, so people are used to it now. But yeah, I I call it hijacking. What I hijack myself. See, what I do is I start to say something that it's a channel. It's channeled message. This is pure channeled information. And then Mila goes, they might not understand that. Let me stop them for a minute and explain it. And then after I'm finally done with my disclaimer or whatever it is I'm doing to introduce the subject, I've
God.
lost the channel. I have absolutely no idea what we were talking about. And it's so frustrating because I'll do it to myself repeatedly with the same topic, with the same, comes back. I start to channel it through, and then I'm like, oh, this is what I was talking about before. And Mila comes back in. It's like, so I do it all the time. I do it all the time.
Oh, and it's you go up the stairs, and I ask my son, "What did I come up to get?" He's like, "Mom, you had to get your phone." I'm like, "Oh yeah, yeah." So yeah, it's kind of fun though. I think it's good. I kind of like the mushy mind.
Yeah.
I don't mind the mushy brain. I think I in our mind that it's just so nice to not be in it and just say, okay, source, take it all. Like I I'm at a point where I really love it now. I love just just surrendering everything and let the chips fall where they may now. I'm tired. I don't know, but I'm tired. I don't know how about you. How about if you're I'm just exhausted. I'm tired. I don't have the fight anymore. I've fought, and I think we're at a point where it's like, okay, whatever, you do it. I don't care. I don't care.
Yeah,
So
yeah, me too. I there's no reason to fight. When we
no,
fight, we create what we're trying to fight against. When we focus on worst case scenarios, that's what we are manifesting. We're choosing this
yeah,
less desirable scenario to be manifested and be our reality. And this was, freaking genius. Whatever, and this is not agreeing in some kind of bad guys, good guys thing. It's just those who were meant to be our catalysts who have been, and they did a good job. Some people would have called not, the best people. They were really helpful for us. And though brilliant also, because we've been living in a self perpetuating prison.
yeah,
We are choosing to agree by passing this information down to our children from, accepting it as the child, as the peers and all those other things, those other individuals coming in. There doesn't have to be anyone in the schoolhouse to run the to run this enslavement system that has been occurring, that we've been invested in and agreeing to every moment that we were in for however long. And I find that very entertaining and also useful because we don't have to there is no reason to be concerned about a worst case scenario because there isn't.
yeah.
There really isn't.
We were always okay. We were always safe. We were always protected. And it's like, oh, but the lessons we learned, like what we're taking with us, it's I think absolutely I mean, now that I can see the story, okay, listen, you asked me 6 months ago, I wasn't a happy girl. We're all like, oh, this is gonna end. And but you get over this threshold. But yeah, I think where we're going is absolutely incredible. And the story and the way it happened, and I guess just the lessons that source is teaching us, because we can't let this happen again, Mila. Like, we cannot let this happen again. And so if we didn't learn it, and kind of, if we weren't dragged through the shit, I think it's almost, we had to be dragged through it, because this can never happen again,
Yeah.
ever.
Yeah.
And you know, like a good parent teaches their child a lesson by letting them, learn through it.
Right.
So,
You can't, trial and error, trial and
yeah.
error. there's so much awesome frequency coming right now. And what I'm getting is we're going to be getting a surge every night, or at least in the northern hemisphere for a while, and like, or close to every night. And that started last night, and I was kind of waiting to see if that was true before I told anybody, because that's a big statement, and I don't tend to get channeled information regarding dates as much.
Yeah.
I did get one when I was doing that Dr. Joe show. I was really fascinating. They were like, we're talking about the corridor. So there is a lunar eclipse on the 25th that's also seen over the North American continent.
Right.
And that's happening on the 25th of March. The other side is the April 8th solar eclipse that I'm in totality with. That's why we're having the party here. And again, if anybody wants tickets, you can find the link below. And when we were talking with Dr. Joe, it came forward that I needed to check the middle date. And the date right in the middle was going to be a big one. It was going to be an important one. And so I went and looked that day, because some holidays shift based on the moon phase, right? That specific day is March 31st. March 31st this year is Easter.
Really?
Yeah.
There's that Easter and the rabbit back again.
There's the rabbit again.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Huh.
It's also, the renewal, the spring, the new year. A lot of people will call Easter New Year. It's whenever, it doesn't really matter. There is no year, so those who argue about when the new year is I agree, it's been shifted. I also used to argue about it, or participated in trying to figure out why. And to me, what matters is that we know that this is an important date, this Easter window, and that I understood it as, like, I remember remarking something like, there's going to be like, there must be some kind of celestial event, because it feels like there's going to be fireworks, and so
let's do it.
This is an important window.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, let's do it. Fireworks. We want it.
Yeah. This was an echo, or better worded as a reflection of a corridor that we had in October. The one in October, that corridor was meant as an example of what this one's going to be, and more. And so those of you who remember the October corridor, it was we had Friday the 13th on October, and then October 14th, there was the solar eclipse. And then the following, I think it was a week later, then it was, or something, 2 weeks later, then there was the lunar eclipse. And a lot of people got a lot of activation during that window of time, so this is an example of that too. So those of you who now are aware of this on Easter, is going to be a big one, and or it will feel good, though not bad. I don't think the biggest activation part of that whole last corridor in October was the last eclipse. So this one will be April 8th, when the April 8th eclipse happens. We've already known this. There's people have traveled to this area from all over the world and the country over the past 6 months, preparing to be here for this window of time. Yeah, it's crazy. It's awesome. But
it's very exciting. And I think, like, I also, again, another download, like, I think when this thing turns, like, and again, I don't know if you got any insight into this, but I think because of the experience that we've all gone through, and what we've done here in this 3D, that this will never exist again. I think once we get back, is it like we're going to be a little different than the rest, right? Just because of this experience, just because of what we've gone through, and the level of that density, so it should be interesting to see how we use what we've learned here and take that and bring that into the new earth, because it's going to be different than I think anything that is kind of out there because of this experience. I think it changes things a little bit.
Definitely. And in all things in spirit are gradual in some regard. And so they call it the Great Reset, the Great Reset. And we've been in the Great Reset for it really started in October. And
Yeah.
it's September is when I started to experience it, but I've just given up on trying to explain it. I'm always first for some reason. Carmen's always first on the chat, and I'm a pre-waiver. I do things and then everyone else does it. There's still this part of this quantum thought experiment in my own experience. It's like, am I creating everyone else's reality like this by doing this, whatever I do that everyone else does? And so, we're all our own reflections. Anyway, so I got distracted because your camera did something very amazing, and I saw like 4 people in your image. So I'm wondering if it was recorded that way, or if it's a delay on my side. That was really cool. But I saw 4 different.
I think nothing happened. I was okay, but you paused a little bit there. You
Oh
cut out
darn!
a little
I
bit, so
won't
maybe
see
that.
it again. Darn it! That was really cool.
Hopefully, it'll be in the recording. That'll be good. That'll be neat to see.
Yeah. So, I guess in closing, hey, it's 11111 right now. We were recording for 1 hour, 11 minutes, and 11 seconds just then. Is there, if you're speaking to someone, assuming you're speaking to someone who has no idea what's going on, they're just waking up, and remembering what you felt like in this place. Um, and yeah, I agree with you. We're all reawakening. No matter where you are now, you've been awake at some point. What would be what suggestion would you impart to this person of going through all what, like, the energies are crazy right now? Can you imagine doing that right now?
No, we had some time. I would say, oh gosh, what would I tell them? Is really to be with self. Find someone who can help you through this, and where you can talk it out. Use discernment, because they're going to want to go on their own journey like all of us did. It was just this incessant learning, it's this need to know. And what I'm doing with these people that are newly awakening, that do to approach me, is I'm just urging them to use discernment. And what does that mean? I tell them, like, the truth is felt. You don't think the truth. You're not told the truth. You're felt the truth. So as you're reading what you're reading in your discovery, take everything here within, and you'll know if it resonates with you, if it's truth. And I think that's the biggest thing that I can tell them, because we're not going to be there, every step of the way. So if I can teach them any one thing, that would be the biggest gift that I think I could give them, is the gift of discernment, because with that they can go, that'll take them through right to the end.
That's
But
brilliant.
we learned that a little later on in the game, didn't we? We just absorbed it all and believed it all. And then we had to and I think we had to go through that first, because then, we can understand discernment, learn it. And I think that's first on the list as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
Because I can't always be there for them, right? And there's so much junk out there. Like, there's a plethora of garbage information. So I always tell them, like, 95%, is probably, a little bit misleading. So look for that 5%, and it's your heart that'll guide you there.
I love this. You're teaching them how to read.
Yeah.
If they know how to read, they can research and find any information they need.
This is it. Yeah, I don't want to fish for them, Mila. Like, I'm done with that shit. Like, I can't do that anymore. We've done that our whole lives. We were fishing for people our whole lives.
Yeah.
So no, we got to teach them to fish now, and
Yeah,
they'll be
I
just
agree.
fine. They'll be just fine.
That's my goal in any sessions that I do with people. I love seeing everybody again. I do. I love it. I get really excited. I'm like, oh yeah, I get to hang out with my friend again. Though in every other regard, I really don't want to see them again. My role isn't here to siphon their financial, their pocket. I want that above all else to assist them to see how empowered and powerful they are, and to be able to do this same thing. And to add to what you said, I would like to, you know, I would say everybody I talk to, there's probably one or two things that I don't take with me, at least. It's not um, because it's not correct. Our lives just in the path that we've taken, it doesn't resonate with what has happened in the Milo world. Um, and so, taking this into consideration, the buffet or potluck table, you're going to have a big, giant conference table full of all kinds of dishes and foods. And most people don't put every kind of food on their plate. You take what you want and you leave the rest. And being able to do this, and to know that there's no judgment. You're not insulting someone,
Yeah.
you know, it's okay. I love that. Thank you very much. That was, oh, you froze again. Did I freeze? Can you hear me? Is it my internet? Can anybody hear me? I can't tell if it's my internet. It's hers. Um, it looks like I have internet. If anybody can hear me, please tell me that you can. Well, I'm going to assume that you can. Okay, I can see. Okay, cool. I'm still alive, so it must be Preeti. Thank you very much. So it's I find that as we go through and allow ourselves to accept that we have the power and the ability to tell, to discern, to tell the difference between here and some truth and here and some BS is uh it's found right here, the breastplate. I find it to be right here. And a lot of times we feel that maybe we can't hear it as well, and that's usually due to low self-worth talk. And I know that there is no forgiveness. Here, she's back. I know that there is no forgiveness. Oh wait, I did it wrong. There you go. To finish the statement, I know that there is no forgiveness, though using this word and finding forgiveness in self um, will unpack or unlayer what's on your breastplate and giving you the improving your power of discernment. So lastly, is really quick, is because this is what you were talking about, Prithvi, and I just love this, is because I'm always saying this. People, like, something's going on, and someone will say, hey, don't tell them this. It's like, yeah, try to keep a secret in a room full of psychics. Like, there's no, you know, everybody knows your bullshit. They just, so what? Just, if it's meant to come out, it will.
Yeah, and I'm finding that, people's shit's not sticking to the wall anymore. And if they don't come in authenticity, it's just being seen,
Yeah.
So that's kind of nice. I like that because we're being forced to just be real, and it's nothing wrong with being real. I think we all better get used to that, and it's a nice way to be.
Yeah, it is. It is. And laughter, and being in
Yeah,
laughter.
yeah,
Well, I see that the technology was ready for us to go. So
yeah.
maybe we should close this up. Thank you so much for
Thank
this.
you.
I've
Thank you to your
really,
family. I loved all the comments and for them participating. So thank you all very much for gifting me with your time.
if any, are you open for I actually don't know if I talked to you about this or not. Are you taking any sessions with anybody, or are you just simply, are you doing this while you're in your dentistry?
Oh no, I am taking sessions because it's getting to the point where it's opening up now and people are wanting to, they just don't know where to go. So I formed a just a couple of days, a couple of hour sessions. I can send you the link to the calendar. And then I'm thinking of making maybe a couple of podcasts because again, I'm finding just these little small snippets, maybe 10 minutes, just to kind of, like you were saying, how, people are waking up, what to use and discernment, and then explaining to them what it is. Because for them to get to this information, I find that's the hardest part is they just don't know where to look.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Brilliant.
so I can send you that link if you like. And yeah, and if there's any videos and uploads, maybe I might call you to do a podcast with me.
Yeah.
So
I would love that.
try to reach more people out there.
Yeah. For those of you who are interested in hooking up with Preeti later on, I will be coming back with that link she's talking about, and I'll have it in the description of this video, both on YouTube and on Facebook. So thank you for the honor to joining me in this conversation. This has been a lot of fun. The time just flew by. Hey, I looked down and it was 3, 2, 1, and it just changed. So I love you. Thank you.
Love you, darling. Love you very much. Take good care.
Thank you
Bye.
all for joining us today. Know that you're not alone. There's a lot of us out here, and that's why we do these types of shows, to show you all of the variety of amazing people out here that are just like you. We're all doing this together, and no one has to do it alone anymore if they don't want to. You're welcome to join our Telegram group, and you can connect to a lot of other people just like us. Thank you. Thank you all for being here. I love you. Thank you, Preeti.
Bye, all.